Okay, guys, welcome to a special episode. We've got the Hill End Gold Hunters being taught by the man himself, who I'm consider a professor of gold. He's going to be explaining to us today the correct terminology for weighing gold in comparison to goods.
And there's a lot involved in it because it gets confused when you've got two different ounces.
Yeah, I'm very confused.
Two different batches of grains, but the pounds are the same. Okay. And then you've got different nationalities like the Chinese coming in with their own methods. And now we've got the metric system to confuse it all. So when you look at the television, you're going to get prices from America in American dollars based in one specific method of weighing gold. So we need all this stuff.
This is good. Let's get the facts out and let's put this to bed.
So what we start with is early England. We've got a system called avoir du poids.
Right, very fancy.
French, but it's Anglo-French. The story is that translated to goods sold by weight.
Right.
To make it simple, they changed the name later to the imperial style. And they had grains, they had ounces, they had pounds, and then they confused it.
Right.
1266. King Henry III decreed all pennies must weigh the same as 32 grains of wheat taken from the centre of the ear of wheat. We have wheat used as the standard to weigh a penny.
So they had 28 of those?
No. They had, that's the confusion because they changed that too.
Right.
They had 32 grains of wheat would equal the weight of a penny.
Right, I got you.
Now, the crops must have got better.
Okay.
Because the grains of wheat must have got bigger.
Okay.
Because a little while later they thought, no, we can't do that, but let's weigh a grain and we'll set that in cement.
Okay.
Now, that was then later set in cement as 24 grains, forget the wheat then, to the pennyweight, 20 pennyweights to the ounce,
okay,
and 12 ounces to the pound. Now that's troy. So we've got a pound in troy, and then we've got a pound in imperial.
In imperial, right.
To confuse it, let's look at the grains. 5,760 grains make a troy pound. 7,000 grains make an imperial pound.
Right.
16 ounces make an imperial pound. 12 ounces make a troy pound. Both are the same.
Okay.
However, they're used to weigh different things. The internet will tell you that it's used for black powder when you're measuring the weight for bullets.
Right, you were saying it'll blow someone's head off.
If you weigh it in troy.
Right.
In other words, when you're putting the black powder in, you're not going to use troy. I'm sorry. All my firearms experts, Jack and Dennis do my reloads, they tell me they put 50 grains, that's in weight, but it's imperial that they put in. And of course, when you're looking at the early imperial scale and goods sold by weight, you have weight on one side, goods on the other. They have to balance. So the Egyptians used balance scales 5,000 years ago. Many people use balance scales. What are they? It's a beam. That's all. When you put things on one side and a given weight on the other side, when the two are equal, then unknown becomes known because you put a weight there, balance.
Okay.
Balance beam. And of course there's different types of balance beams that occur. These are the most standard. I mean, these are gemstone scales.
Right.
Nice, big, deep dish to hold the gemstones. These are gold scales, flatter tray. They're steelyard scales. The steelyard scale was a Roman idea.
Right.
You still used a beam.
Yep.
You still slid a unit along. And expanding on that, then you had the Chinese scales. You had them producing something like this, which would still have a beam, still have unknown product, and a known product along there. These are too big.
I love the difference in them, yeah.
You can show the banjo carrying case for the standard Chinese gold scale.
That almost looks like bone there.
It's either bone or ivory.
Really?
Ivory was very common, but the poorer person would have his made out of bone. And you had the same thing, just in miniature and packed away, so the Chinese gold digger would take that with him.
Okay.
They came in different styles. All gold scales came in different styles. Here we have a really tiny pocket set of gold scales. Look at those, little mini. But you must remember, it doesn't take a lot of gold to make
I was going to say, for weighing up little nuggets, would they have weighed up anything else other than gold with that?
You could if you wanted to.
Yeah.
I mean, I always referred to gold scales as the cash converters. They were the EFTPOS machines. So rather than having plastic as we have today, you had gold that would be the same equivalent.
Yep.
It turned everything straight away into cash. It was not accurate. It was not 100%, because this next thing you have to consider apart from weight is its purity.
Okay, true.
Around the Pyramid, you had gold that was 19 carats. Around Hawkins Hill, it was 24 carats, very close to being pure gold bullion.
And our famous Tambaroora?
Well, that was around the same. I've got some gold here from Tambaroora.
Cool.
A little bit of show and tell. This is 1 ounce of gold nuggets.
Look at that.
From
That
Tambaroora.
is beautiful.
But
It doesn't get old looking at beautiful gold like that, I think.
well, this is half an ounce from California.
Really?
So it doesn't really matter.
So we've got American gold here now.
So it doesn't matter where you go.
Look at that.
But I got to say that. Look at that. You can see the difference.
Yes.
That Californian gold is nowhere near as yellow
And bright.
So it's not the same purity. When you went and Cobb and Co coach goods and services, and you were doing the avoirdupois, paying for your goods and services with a weight, it wasn't exact.
Yeah, I
but
can
it was
see.
accepted.
Yeah.
It was like, oh yeah, it's good enough.
Still
We'll
gold.
take a cent or two either side. Won't really worry us. We know it's still gold.
I always found it amazing that you can break the law if it suits the law. I mean, effectively, you couldn't dig for gold until you bought a fosking licence. But over at OFA, we've got sketches showing gold commissioners using gold scales so people could pay for their 1 month, 30 shilling fossickers licence. So they had to have broken the law by digging without a licence to start with. But as long as the government was getting its money in the finish, that was fine. And even before gold rushes, there was a law that decreed all gold remained the property of the English realm. In other words, whoever was king or queen at the time, it was their stuff. With that in mind, within 30 days of finding gold, and it was a law, 30 days of finding it, you had to hand it in to the Reserve Bank or one of their agents.
Really? Within 30 days? I can't imagine many people were abiding by that rule.
Bushrangers loved it.
Oh, I'm sure they did. You've got to be joking.
Only 1976, they reversed the law.
Yeah,
so
right.
that law stayed in place for over 100 years. No one really paid much attention to it, but it was the law. You didn't own it. The English realm or monarchy owned it, and you had to hand it in within 30 days of finding it.
Yeah, right. Well, good luck getting the gold off me.
At this site in Clark Street was a multifaceted building: the Stock Exchange, the Exchange Hotel, and the Australian Joint Stock Bank, where the Byers and Halterman gold was held after processing. A few bricks marked the site, with the original bolts that held the bank vault into position still visible. Up to 2 tons of gold was inside the vault at any one time. I have seen this bank's scales used to check deposits, and they could weigh 1,200 ounces at a time, which was the largest amount weighable during the 1800s. To confirm, in 1872, the Mint and the Australian Joint Stock Bank wrote to the director of the Byers and Halterman Gold Mining Company to state, "Both the Mint and the bank authorities protest against the making of these large cakes. They cannot be accurately weighed in one piece. you will notice that the mint had to cut this cake into pieces not exceeding 1,200 ounces, each in order to get at the weight. And then you've got, again, we're going to have a little conversion here. This is 1 ounce troy. We can put it on the scale.
Cool.
This is 1 ounce imperial. So to prove a point, and there's very little to prove, you can see there.
Okay.
The troy, 12 ounces to the pound, 16 ounces to the pound. That's far, far lighter.
Yeah.
You can go one step further and we can pull out some grams. I mean, that's a modern type of gold scale, which is now all in grams. Here's 30 grams. Now remember, there's 31.103 to the ounce. 103.4768 if you want to be precise.
Yeah.
And here we can go, okay, see, troy ounce.
Yeah.
You can see there's just that little bit of difference going in it. It just sort of sneaks to one side. But you can be really, really fine with your measurements. So fines. I mean, this is part of a grain weight. That is more.
Yeah, that's tiny. You're going to weigh that up with other gold to make sure you can still trade.
That's it. They weighed it. They didn't put ounces and penny weights on. They had these little boxes that were full of, yep, that's it there.
Yeah.
And of course, the end product was this.
Yeah.
That's a 2 ounce gold bar. Yeah. So that's what 2 ounces is. And you're saying, well, that's worth X amount of dollars?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're in America.
Okay.
Because when television says the gold price is per ounce, they're talking troy ounces and they're talking American dollar. Yeah. So if we're 74 cents in the American dollar, you have to do the maths to get the same figure. The whole lot can get very complicated. It's fairly specific. Your normal set of gold scales wasn't that. Your normal gold digger had a little travelling box like this, full of his penny weights and
fantastic,
grains.
Nothing
and
to get
he'd
damaged.
Just hold that little tag up in the air, and that would be his weight.
Anywhere, anytime.
Well, he's going to go into a shop and go, I want to make sure that I know exactly how much. I mean, you like to count your money at the end of the day.
Yep.
And that's what they were doing. This is how they would count their money.
Amazing.
This is how they knew exactly what their day had been able to deliver. It's not that complicated, but it is. Because unless you know, like anything, unless you know the subject, you're never going to get the correct result.
Yeah.
So we start with early England, developing a system, fine-tuning it. It's used for gold. Then we have a system that operates right beside it, a twin system, which is the confusing bit because it's still grains, ounces, it's still
pounds.
The
same language, but it's in a different context.
It's a bit like, as you said, what's a pound when you're thinking shillings and pennies? As soon as you mention pennies, you're going to think, oh, pound note.
Yeah.
No, unfortunately, it's the weight. So we've got this confusion of words that can mean the same, but in a different language.
Yeah.
I hope this presentation has gone some way to explain the difference in weights and pricing for the gold standard.